Alrighty. Hello everyone. How we doing today? This is going to be a little bit different video here. I'm going to demonstrate how I fish my pistol leech as soon as I can see what's going on with my camera. But this is the pistol leech, right? No, it's hard to see. But it's got the little propeller blade on there, tungsten bead. This is going to be a size 8 2X long shank. But yeah, let's get started. So the most effective method that I have found for this fly has been on a midge tip. More specifically like a midge tip long. This is Rio's midge tip long. So basically what that means is the first 6 feet of the line here is an intermediate sink. I also have it with a fluorocarbon leader. It was a 9-foot leader, but it's probably about 7 feet right now. I am also fishing today with the Mondo Flow Cannon 5-weight. One of the best rods by far that I have ever fished. The only reason I'm fishing this on a 5-weight instead of my 3-weight is they don't make midge tips in a 3-weight or a 4-weight. They only make them in a 5-weight. But as you can see, this is how you're going to fish the pistol leech. Doesn't matter if it's a small body of water, big body of water. This is my most effective method for that, is by doing the just the figure eights with the fingers, and then at the very end just doing kind of that hang. There we go. Waiting for that woman to go by before I make a cast. Otherwise I don't want to have to rip a hook out of a 2-year-old. All right. So again, the midge tip I think is more critical for this than a sink tip, at least if you're bank fishing from a lake or a small pond like I am. I'm at Discovery today. And I think the midge tip with the fluorocarbon has been more effective for me in the lakes like this than a sink tip, because the sink tip gets fairly deep fairly quick. Even if it's only like a sink 3, for something like this, I'm having to pull it in too quick many times for the fish to either see it and respond to it, or for them to be able to turn and actually chase it. And of course the name of the game is to put it in front of their face at the speed that they want so they can eat it. Now this is critical, whether you're fishing, because this line is made just for, more for midges and buzzers and things like that. But I have always found that, there we go. I've always found that keeping the fly on the hang, it does catch you quite a few extra fish. Whether I'm doing just a leech or the pistol leech like I am today, that hang is key. Sometimes it's very key, because if that trout is following you, or that bass, but I mean the name of the game here is for trout. If that trout's following you and it's just one of those indecisive stupid fish where they want it but they don't, they want it but they don't. Speaking of a fish, oh hey, look at that. Oh, okay. Oh, I hate cormorants. Where's my gun? But yeah. Accidental catch, but awesome at the same time. Look at that. A tiny leech and a good 2-pound fish. Come on. I want to get you in the net. There we go. Whew. Look at that. Good fish. Very good fish. And he ate that. No problem. So, I don't know. That just goes to show you how effective this is. This is not even for a trout. See ya. I do not want that cormorant to come around at all. But yeah, even in the little ponds, very effective. They work. And the idea for this, which I have a tutorial on how I tie these, but I don't really go into explanation of what the blade is for. So the blade, just as in a rooster tail, panther martin, one of the bladed, you know, one of your normal bladed lures, your bladed spinners, it creates a tension, it creates extra tension. Why is there a kink in there already? But it creates extra tension, extra flash, extra motion. It's a higher water displacement than just the little fly itself. So even though it's a small profile, it's a small fly, it still has a lot of drawing power to it. Now, Discovery Ponds here in Gilbert, they're not the cleanest ones. I mean, you can see the color of the water is the same color as my rod. And it takes quite a bit of movement and motion and things for something to be visible. And that was done on just the figure 8 with my fingers. But that's where all this comes into key, is keeping the blade spinning for as long as possible. And you'll figure this out depending on your fish, your lake, your body of water. But the blades, when they're tied effectively, are gonna, they'll rotate at the slowest of speeds. And you can effectively fish this slow on a constant retrieve and still catch fish. I mean, you can also do the strips like I'm doing, and that works for me quite a bit too. But this is most effective on just a straight retrieve. So, and I just got hit. Now, setting the hook with this is a little bit different, because you have a constant, you know, you're constantly retrieving. So just kind of as like a cast master or a spinner, something like that, you're keeping tension with it the entire time. So when the fish hits, you can't just really assume to hit them, right? I'm trying to make sense out of that. When you feel a hit, you can't just wail on it. Because the rod has too much give. Of course, a fly rod. Got to deal with this every once in a while, just the material getting wrapped up in the blade. It happens. And when it does, it's simple enough to just rotate the blade in one direction until it breaks the fibers that are on it. Kind of forget what I was going with. Oh yeah, hook sets. So this isn't your traditional setting the hook. With this, go ahead and watch some videos by Cano Gratis, my boys in Sweden, with Nicholas Bauer and Daniel Bergman, Stefan Jensen, where they do what they call roly-poly, or the hand over hand. That's where they put, they put the rod in the crook of their arm, and then they do which, they're doing this. If you need extra speed, and I've had to do this before, if you need extra speed, that's a dynamite way to do it. But watching those videos is gonna probably help you with the hook set a little bit, because you don't just swing on them as soon as you feel them. It's kind of like a swim bait bite. For those of you that know swim baits, or at least have watched videos about it, when you get a swim bait bite, you don't just crack them right away. There's generally a moment or two pause, especially if you're fishing like a HUD 12 on the bottom. You can't just whack it right away because one, there's a lot of slack in the line, or there's a lot of, not a lot of slack, but you're not as tight to it as you possibly could be. Or even, you know, it might just be a rock. So what you do is you pull in, you feel the load, and then you set on it. So with that fish, and of course this is the in touch, so this has the connect core. But once you feel the fish, which I think another thing is critical is this connect core, and I'll get to that later. But when you feel the fish, you don't quickly set, and you don't just wail on the rod. You're gonna miss the fish, or you're gonna break hooks, you're gonna bend out hooks, or you're just gonna pull it straight out of their mouth. Can't tell, those are tilapia or carp. So it's a strip set. It's kind of a modified version of a strip set. Now, of course, if you're on the hang, then just go ahead and hit them. But while you're still reeling in, especially if you have some distance out, you have to do kind of a, whoops, I lost that. That's tilapia. You do a modified strip set. So as you're pulling it in with your fingers, the line is just going to keep getting tighter and tighter. Once you're certain you have the weight of the fish on there, it's kind of like I said, either a swim bait or a topwater bite. You don't swing as soon as they blow up. You feel the fish and then you swing. So with this, it's, like I said, I've had a couple hits on here, but I don't swing. Because you're going to lose the fish if you do that. Another person walking by. Definitely you can still just do the strips like this. That's effective too. Or even like that. I know there's a lot of structure and rocks right in here. Am I gonna hit them? Probably. There we go. And this is something that you're gonna have to really play around with the first time you use this fly. Or any like pistol Pete, pistol Leech, pistol booger, anything with that Hummer blade on it, it's gonna take you a while to get the hook set down. It took me probably 20 or 30 fish when I first started tying these in Sholo, so about 3 years ago. When I first started tying these and fishing with them in Sholo Lake, I was getting hit left and right, and I was literally having the rod getting pulled out of my hand. But I didn't know how to set the hook with the finger, you know, because you're pulling in the line constantly. There's no pause where the fish can take it and turn and then you strip and feel it. This is, as you're pulling, you feel the moment it happens. And like I said, that's many times when people just want to hit it because they're like, oh, fish. And then they go to swing, but they miss it entirely because the fish either hasn't turned or it hasn't, you know, it may have just spit it back out. And I almost fell in. So it takes a little bit of time to get used to the hook set for this. But fishing it, as you saw, that was, I just got here and the video's been going for 15 minutes and how to fish within the first 5. But this is going to be the most effective method, is the figure 8, and it'll take some time to get used to that as well. Usually I like to loop my fingers and let the line just kind of slip right through there. Because at this point, it's not a strip where the line is in my finger, so when I get hit, you know, my finger doesn't close on this. When I get hit, I still have to do kind of a strip set a little bit to help take out any extra slack in the line. But just the figure eights is most effective. And that I have done that for Dead Horse in Cottonwood, Chevelon up north, Woods Canyon and Willow Springs. This is a very effective fly. Especially for smallies. Oh my God, I have caught probably 100 smallmouth with this fly because they love it. It's vibration, it's movement, it's another piece that they can hone in on. And especially for stock trout, not too much for wild trout. I tend to just stick with a more natural like stripping pattern for that. But in terms of like stalkers and, you know, like big leg fish, if you're just trying to find fish, absolutely, this is a number one key to helping you find fish quicker, and especially the aggressive fish. And not only trout, but I mean, you'll get bass, you'll get sunfish. I've caught yellow bass on these at Apache, which that was with the Sink 6 in 25 feet of water. That was a rock. So I know this is just a little urban pond, but still, for a little urban pond, to get, you know, about a 2 pound, that fish was about 2. He was thick, very thick, thick. And I mean, I catch bass here all the time with these flies. Little ones, big ones. Last time I was here, I caught 2 of the incentives that Game and Fish stocked in. One was about 18, the other one was 15 and a half, 16. So this fly works. And you don't just have to do the roly-poly retrieve, you can do the strips as well. It's effective both methods. Now, do keep in mind that I have a tungsten bead on here. So that tungsten bead adds a lot of extra weight on there. So if you give it too many pauses, it is going to sink too quickly. Trying to look less like an idiot in front of people who are maybe thinking I'm just talking to myself, which currently I am. Oh. Completely lost that. But yeah, like I said, this is a large tungsten bead that's on here. I think this is a 5/30 seconds. So if you let this sink too long, okay, that's still a good sharp. You're gonna get stuck in the rocks or the bottom. You don't have much of a jigging action with this. The idea for this fly isn't to have a jigging motion or any of those, you know, normal kind of leech style. The idea is this blade is what's going to catch their attention. That's what displaces water. That's what has flash to it, extra flash, extra vibration. So it's easier for the fish to feel on their lateral lines. Again, same thing as like a rooster tail. Castmaster looks good, but it only displaces water just by going back and forth, whereas a rooster tail, it's got a blade on it. It displaces a lot more water, and it has more flash to it. So it's not necessary for these to have kind of extra motion to it, like in the tail or too much of the body, because it's just a kind of a swimming leech. And again, the midge tip for this, I think, is critical, because I've tried this on a floating line with maybe like a fluorocarbon leader for shallower bodies of water, or if you're going to be fishing closer to the bank, not a bad choice. And don't get me wrong, I've caught fish all the time like that. I think that's another bass. It is another bass. All right, well, today is a bass day. Come here. that was on the strip, so effective all ways. Little guy too. Ooh, looks like he might have been hit by one of the cormorants. Yeah, so just go through here, clean up the point in there, and yep, we're good. Now occasionally, depending on how much you beat this up, the bead will dislodge from here. It is just super glue, guys. It's not, you know, that's just what I tie on here is super glue, the gel super glue, and it holds very well in place. But occasionally, after bouncing off rocks, banging it off trees, and whatever else you happen to cast it into, that bead will come off. You are also going to bend out the blades, and it's very easy, at least with the blades, to just bend it right back in place so it starts spinning. But if the bead falls off and the bead dislodges, when you get home, just put super glue back on it. Just wait till it dries off, put super glue back in between the bead and the body, or epoxy. You know, if you've got a project going on, you're using like a 5-minute epoxy, go ahead and throw an epoxy on there too. Same thing. Any of the slow drying, slow curing epoxies or super glues are best for that, because it can really hold that in place. But yeah, that is the pistol leech, guys. And even just in this how-to of, you know, how I fish it, how I find it's most effective, caught 2 fish. First one being a very good one. So thank you guys for watching. If you stuck around this far, I would appreciate like, subscribe, all the good stuff, you know. If you want, go ahead and check me out on Instagram as well. I'm also getting my website back up and running. I've had a lot of hours at work lately, so it's kind of limited my time that I can do for the website. Other than that, I'm getting it back up. I've already sent out a couple orders for these. I got a buddy, actually, the guy who makes these rods. I'm going to be sending him quite a few flies. These ones will be included with it. In the next couple months as well, I'm going to have a video of me swinging this fly in the Salt River. So that's something I think all of you are going to like too. So stay tuned for that one. That one's going to be in the next couple months though. Otherwise, like I said, like, subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Hope this helps you out with, if you do purchase this fly, how to fish it, how it's effective. Other than that, y'all have a good day.